Hey everybody, this is Al, and today I want to talk about the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And this one's a little more exciting for me than usual because I'm going to be in Vegas at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view on Sunday. So I'm really excited to see how it turns out. And after my predictions were so close at the NXT takeover, I thought maybe I'll make the predictions video a regular thing. So without any further ado, let's get on to the matches. All right, starting with the kickoff show, our first match is Apollo Crews versus Sheamus. The new era versus the old era, so to speak. And that's really all this match has going for it. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Apollo Crews. I really want to see him do well. But the WWE hasn't given us a reason to be invested in him. They didn't do it in NXT, and they haven't done it yet in the WWE. Now, maybe this will change. Maybe this is the start of something. I hope it is. And if they want us to really start caring about Apollo Crews, he's got to start winning big matches, which means he's got to go over on Sheamus at Money in the Bank. And that's what I think happens. Because I don't think creative are total morons. We'll see how right I am. But I think Apollo Crews goes over on Sheamus in our opening match. Next, we've got the show-off, Dolph Ziggler versus the Lone Wolf, Baron Corbin. Once again, these guys have been relegated to the kickoff show. What is this, their third straight kickoff show? Honestly, this whole feud has been underwhelming. And I don't see it going anywhere. Baron Corbin, I've never been a fan of his. I didn't like him in NXT. I don't like him in the main roster. The guy cannot cut a promo to save his life. I mean, if you watch the guy talk, you can almost see his eyes moving like he's reading a cue card. Not quite as bad as that first Vicky Guerrero promo, but still bad. And Dolph Ziggler, a guy with all the talent in the world, has been brought down to this. And I just don't like what they're doing with it. My belief is, though, that in this match, Baron Corbin probably goes over because they keep showing him to have one up on Ziggler, and Ziggler's kind of the guy that they have other people make a name off of. Hopefully that changes a little bit with the brand split, but for now, that's what it is. I'm thinking Corbin goes over. I would much prefer to see Ziggler go over, but I think it's going to be Corbin. Okay, now moving on to the main show, let's start with the women's match. Dana Brooke and Charlotte versus Natalya and Becky Lynch. This match has a lot of potential, except for Dana Brooke. I've never seen her as being that good. Maybe she'll surprise me. But the whole women's division right now, it just feels like they're spinning in circles, waiting for Sasha Banks to be cleared to wrestle again. For anybody that doesn't know, she was injured, I believe, with a concussion. I could be wrong about what it was, but she's some kind of injury. I think it's a concussion. And they've taken her out of house shows, and she hasn't been on TV, obviously. And I think they're just waiting for her to get back to have a feud between her and Charlotte, and then eventually even bring Bayley up and get that whole trio going again, and building up possibly to a Sasha Banks-Bayley match at WrestleMania, which would be awesome. They had great matches in NXT, and I can't wait to see it on the main roster, but I'm getting off track. All right, so this tag match, again, I feel like they're spinning in circles. They did on Raw this week start to sow a few seeds of discontent between Dana Brooke and Charlotte, but I still think Charlotte and Dana Brooke go over. And who knows, maybe there's a woman debuting, or Sasha Banks is coming back at the pay-per-view for after. I wouldn't hold my breath on it, but I think Charlotte, Dana Brooke go over on this one. Moving on to the U.S. title match. The Bulgarian Brute Rusev versus Titus O'Neil. Now, I liked Titus O'Neil for a while, especially when him and Darren Young came back for their second run as a tag team. I don't, however, know how this all is going to play out. Rusev just won the title, and I was kind of expecting them to throw Cena at it again and redo that whole thing. So it's hard to say what's going to happen here. I'm not sure this story is going to go anywhere. Titus O'Neil is somebody that they haven't really done a lot with, and I'm not sure it's going to start now. I think he's a placeholder for somebody. So I'm thinking Rusev probably goes over. I don't know who the next challenger would be. I think it'd be interesting to see Titus win, see what he could do with a singles title. But I'm assuming that Rusev gets the win here and walks out with the title. All right, next I want to talk about a match I'm actually looking forward to. John Cena versus the phenomenal AJ Styles. The newly turned heel phenomenal AJ Styles, mind you. And this is a match that Styles has to win. He's lost his last, 3 pay-per-view matches? If they want this guy to retain any kind of fan support and not become the next Dolph Ziggler or Zack Ryder, they need to put Styles over here. I'm not 100% sure they will. At least not without interference from the club. But Styles needs to go over. The only problem with that is the last time we saw Cena, he lost to Alberto Del Rio. He lost the U.S. Championship. So again, it's Cena's return. You would expect Cena to go over on his return. But honestly, he's John Cena. Love him or hate him, he doesn't need the win here. AJ Styles needs the win. In pay-per-view matches, I believe he's got, 2 pay-per-view wins over Jericho? And Jericho's got 2 wins on him. So AJ Styles is 2 and 4 at pay-per-views, I think, now. Styles needs to win. Ideally, Styles needs to do it somehow on his own, by hook or by crook, even if there's some heely things he has to do to win. Styles needs this win, preferably without interference from the club. Okay, next, we're going to talk about the World Tag Team Championships match. I would do Xavier Woods' WWE thing, but I don't do it anywhere near as well as him. Besides, I'm not showing you me shucking and jiving on my YouTube channel. Not going to happen. Alright, so we've got the Vaudevillains, Enzo and Cass, the Club, and the New Day in a Fatal 4-Way tag match. This match has a lot of potential, and this is another situation like with Cena and Styles, where you've got one guy in there, or one team in there in this case, that's got to get a big win. Alright, so you've got the Vaudevillains, so I don't think they're going to put the belts on. I don't think they're going to put the Vaudevillains over here. I love the Vaudevillains. They're strong in-ring workers. It's really interesting to get to hear them talk for a change. I can't talk today, apparently. Unlike in NXT where they didn't talk much. Enzo and Cass, again, I'm a big fan of these guys. They're kind of a throwback tag team in a way, where you had Enzo as the smaller workhorse. He's the guy that takes the beating, does all the selling. Then he makes the hot tag to Big Cass, who comes in and cleans house. I like that kind of tag team. Again, it harkens back to some old school teams I grew up watching, like the Colossal Connection with Andre the Giant and Haku. I love that dynamic. Then you've got the Club, who I think are the ones that need to win this match. Up until now, they've just been kind of piddling around with the Usos. They haven't done much. They haven't made much of an impact. These guys need to start going over, and they need to start going over fairly convincingly. I'm not saying they dominate everybody in this match, but I'm saying these guys win clean in this match. The Club has to win. Just like AJ Styles, these guys need the big win. If you want these guys to be the big, scary faction that they seem to kind of want them to be, so they don't always seem to know how they're booking them, But when they're booking coherently, they seem to want these guys to be that. And if you want them to be that, they need to go over fairly convincingly here. I think the club beats the New Day. Don't get me wrong, I love the New Day, but they've been the champions since SummerSlam, and I think it's time for a change, and then maybe you get the New Day chasing them for a change. This brings us to the Money in the Bank ladder match. Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn. And if you're looking at the picture now, you can see that there's an empty silhouette. It's because typically there's one more person with the Money in the Bank ladder match, but they started with one, and then it just kind of went away one day, and they never explained why, so I'm almost expecting some kind of surprise entrant into the match. It's possible that Finn Balor makes an appearance, and I think that would be a really interesting way to bring them in, especially if you tie him in with the club somehow, which could happen. I mean, at TakeOver, he was in club colors, and he is kind of known for dropping those kind of hints. So you never know. Maybe Finn Balor shows up. That'd be awesome. I don't think he will, and even if he did, I don't think he'd win. Cesaro, I don't think he's going to win. I would love to see this guy get a legitimate run at any major title. He's great in the ring, but he's got the funny accent, I think, is why Vince doesn't like pushing him. I don't think they like his promos. But Cesaro's awesome. I'd love to see him win, but I don't think he will. Chris Jericho, Jericho's not going to win. He's just a guy that comes in to put over the newer talent at this point. And he's not around long enough. He's on for like 6 months and off for 6, touring with Fozzy. It's not going to be Jericho. Sami Zayn, again, I don't think it's going to be Sami Zayn. I don't think he's been here long enough to get a belt. And again, they haven't really developed him on the main show yet. The only thing that you really know about him if you don't watch NXT is this guy really doesn't like Kevin Owens. That's all you know about him. Not a reason to be invested in him yet. I don't think they're going to push him to the Money in the Bank thing. In fact, I think putting him in there is just a way to extend the feud between him and Kevin Owens, because I think he somehow might cost Kevin Owens the Money in the Bank contract. This brings us to Kevin Owens. Like I just said, I think that Kevin Owens is going to... This is just a vehicle to extend the feud between him and Sami Zayn probably till SummerSlam. And they can have a big blow-off match there. So I don't think Kevin Owens wins. I think it's going to be a lot like in the Intercontinental title match where he kind of had his hands on it. Sami does something to knock him off, costs him the match. And I think we might have a situation here where Dean Ambrose wins the Money in the Bank title. And I think that would be fantastic. I'm a really big Dean Ambrose fan. I love the lunatic fringe gimmick. I think they could have him act a little bit crazier. But I love a good crazy gimmick. I've always been a fan of them. So I think Dean Ambrose probably wins this match. I would love to see it. And that could build to a huge Shield reunion match at SummerSlam, which would be awesome. You'd have Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose all in one match for the world title. And I think that would be a very interesting way to go. And that might actually be good for Roman Reigns if they do, is put him back with the group that he broke in with. And they need to do something that helps Roman Reigns at this point. Speaking of helping Roman Reigns, that brings us to the world title match. And honestly, I don't think they're going to do anything to really help Roman Reigns here. I've got this big, long opinion on Roman Reigns. I'll probably eventually do a video on it. But for now, let's just say that creative is not doing this guy any favors, and I don't think they're going to do him any more at Money in the Bank. I think the best thing they could do for Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank is pull off a nice little double switch. And what I mean by that, for anybody that hasn't been a longtime wrestling fan, is when you pull a double switch, that means that the person who walks into the match as the heel or the bad guy, Seth Rollins in this case, will walk out as the babyface. And the guy walking into the match as the babyface, Roman Reigns, walks out as the heel. And I think that would be the best case scenario for Roman Reigns. Because the fans are booing him to the point where every time he comes out, you can hear Kevin Dunn muting the fan reaction. Every time. And it's just annoying that you see that. And in fact, I even saw a sign in the crowd at one point saying, "Please don't mute us, Kevin Dunn." Or something along those lines, asking Kevin Dunn not to mute him as he was muting him. But they're not going to do him any favors here, I don't think. They're going to stubbornly stick to this Roman Reigns as a babyface thing and Seth Rollins as a heel. And they're going to find a way to put Roman Reigns over. And Roman Reigns, I think, again, walks out with the belt. He may lose it come SummerSlam, but I think he walks out of here with the belt. And, yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I'm not terribly excited to say that. At least not if there isn't some kind of nice big double turn like I talked about. But that's what I think is going to happen. And he's going to get booed out of the building because the fans do not like him. The fans like Seth Rollins and want to cheer Seth Rollins. But they just have it so stuck in their head that it's going to be this way that I think that's what they stay with. I think they stay with the Roman Reigns is the babyface. He walks in with the belt, he'll walk out with the belt. It'll probably be similar to his matches with AJ Styles, where, don't get me wrong, they're going to have Roman take a beating, and Seth is going to do a lot to him. But in the end, Seth is going to do a lot to him, and then Roman is going to just brush it off, one big spear, match over, just like the AJ Styles matches, despite probably being hit with multiple pedigrees. I would say even maybe a curb stomp, but they've outlawed the curb stomp because it's a dangerous move. So I think that's what they're going to do. They're not going to do Seth any favors. They're not going to do Roman any favors. They're just going to stay the course. And that's what I think happens at the pay-per-view. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comments below. Feel free to comment. Like it if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. I'd love for you to subscribe. Keep coming around. This is Al, and that's what's going on inside my head.